everybody, to the very first episode of Keeping It Real with Rick. I'm Rick Wiley, your host, a sales consultant here with Jago Homes in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Whether you're looking to buy, sell, or just curious about the real estate market, this is the place for you. We're going to provide you with some valuable insights, tips, and hopefully keep you entertained along the way. And today, I couldn't have picked a better guest to kick things off than Emily Davis of the Wind Crew Real Estate Team. She is an absolute rock star agent, very humble, but make no doubt about it, she is a multi-million-dollar producer and a true expert in the Bowling Green market. Welcome, Emily.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. You're kind, and I'm excited to be here.
Cool.
Yeah.
So before we dig deeper into the market at the moment, let's get to learn a little bit more about you.
Sure.
So how did you get started in real estate?
Yeah, so I was actually in the fitness industry, totally different line of work. Was looking for maybe a new job, not necessarily a new career. Was approached by our team lead and founder just to see if I'd be interested in kind of switching things up. Honestly, wasn't on my radar at all. Had never done anything sales or business in my life, but just felt like that was the right thing. It's what the Lord was telling me to do at the time. So just decided to make the jump. My husband and I were newly married. Not a lot of it made sense, but made the jump just to try to switch things up and just try to take advantage of what seemed to be a good opportunity to be surrounded by really great people. So unexpected to say the least.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So what do you love most about working in real estate?
Gosh, such a great question. Like I said, I've never done anything sales related or even business related. So there was a lot of new for me. I think I'm a very type A kind of habitual person. So I do love a routine, but I love how each day brings something different. There are certainly parts of my day that are very routine, and I do the same things every morning and all of that. But I do love. You're never going to get bored in this job, as
Right.
you know. There is always something new, always learning, always growing, and it just keeps it interesting, and it just keeps me growing as a person too. So.
Great. What do you find is the most challenging part of your job?
Gosh, so many things that are that are challenging about this job. I would say maybe this isn't the most challenging, but it's very consistently challenging is the fact that everything you do has a timeline on it. That's always been a harder thing for me because it creates this illusion that everything is urgent and important. And so learning to decipher between what is truly a top priority, what has to be done now, what can be, kind of put off. That's hard because you feel like you're always racing against the clock. And just time management as your plate, gets more full and your pipeline gets busier, it's hard to figure that out sometimes.
It's almost like you're herding cats sometimes.
Oh my gosh. I feel like I do that every day. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So do you have a favorite success story? Maybe somebody you helped in a unique way?
Yeah. I have a couple of those. I think some of my favorites, I've had this happen maybe twice. I've had a couple of first-time buyers, obviously buying their first ever property. They were either renting or living with parents, just as nervous as could be to, understandably so, to purchase a house, big financial investment, a lot of decisions to make. And we were able to actually get them money back at the closing table. I remember one girl specifically, she got a check back for $500 at her closing. And she was just over the moon, So for me, that being able to see them through such an incredible milestone in their life, but for it to be financially successful for them as well, because I know that's what they're most nervous about, as is anybody. I've had that happen, like I said, maybe 2 or 3 times, and it's so good every time. It never gets old.
Satisfies you while you're doing it, right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so let's switch it up. So when you're not selling homes, what do you like to do in your free time?
Yeah. So like I said, I came from the fitness industry. I love all things fitness and nutrition. My husband and I actually, we own a gym here in town. Shout out to D1 Sports. So he's still in the fitness industry, but love to work out, love to be outside, walk, that kind of thing. So really anything that involves moving my body, treating my body well, eating well, that kind of thing. So that's typically what I'm doing in my free time.
Got it.
Yeah.
Love it. So if you weren't in real estate, what would you be doing?
Gosh, that's hard. As unexpected as real estate was, I'm kind of scared to say. I probably would be back in the fitness industry. Like I said, I really have a passion and a desire for that in my life. Real estate has kind of filled that void in a different way, but it was kind of my original love. I knew from a young age that that was the field I wanted to be in, and it took a lot to step away from that because I felt like that's where I was going to be for most of my life. So probably back doing that, teaching. I did a lot of personal training. I did some group instructing. I did a lot of education as well, a lot of nutrition education and things like that. So I would venture to say probably back in that direction.
Gotcha. That's
Yeah.
awesome. So let's dive into this and talk about the market at the moment.
Sure.
Let's just say it's been interesting for the last few months.
Putting it kindly.
What are you seeing in the Bowling Green market right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's so many different ways we can answer this question. I think everybody wants to hear about interest rates, and I think probably the most general or easiest way to kind of address that right now would be to say we've seen a steadiness. We haven't seen a whole lot of change recently, meaning in the past couple of months. We've fluctuated a little bit up and down, but we seem to have kind of found a steady rhythm with those. And so, as we were discussing, I think people are kind of getting used to, a 6.5% to 7% interest rate. The shock of seeing that after we were at 3.5%, 3%. It took a while. I mean, it's taken a couple years for people to kind of settle into the fact that maybe this is just our new normal. And so I think that's the biggest kind of answer to that question. On the lines of inventory, it has continued to rise. For sure, it's been a slow climb. Just as a reference, I love to share this with people. When I started in real estate in 2018, we had 10 plus months of inventory. Wow. And then during COVID, we were down to a couple of weeks of inventory. It was less than a month for a while. And now I think you said we're back to 4 or 5 months now. So just the drastic difference between the two.
So you've seen a pendulum swing.
Absolutely. And I love when people say pendulum because that's so accurate. It's always moving. And so right now we're kind of in the rebuilding phase as far as inventory goes. We're trying to rebuild that amount of inventory that we need, but it's such a slow process. When you swing that intensely from one direction to the other, it's just going to take a lot of time. So we have seen it continue to increase, but it's just going to continue to take time.
That's a great point. So what advice are you giving to buyers right
now? Education has always been a big part of my business, especially for first-time buyers. Right now, I am definitely harping on education, but in a little bit of a different manner. During COVID, it was get educated because things are moving so quickly, and you didn't have time to ask questions after you found the right house.
Whoever got to the door first.
Absolutely. And if you didn't have your ducks in a row, you were already a week too late. Now it's a little bit different. It's yes, we have to be educated, but it's more so from a creative perspective. It's, prices are higher naturally, rates are higher. So what can we do to still get you where you need to be? But it just looks a little different. Do we need to do rate buy downs? Do we need to change your loan type? Do we need to, look at different price points or come to a builder like Jago that has rate incentives? It just getting them to start the process earlier because it just requires a little more time other than, hey, here's your pre-approval, let's go look at houses. We're seeing that lenders that can be really creative are kind of rising to the top. And so, I think education is the biggest thing for buyers right now. How can we get you to the same destination with maybe a little more of a unique path to get there?
That's solid advice.
Yeah.
So what about sellers? What do they need to know, and what kind of advice are you giving them?
Yeah, absolutely. This is selling right now it's a touchy, hard thing.
Well, we hit on inventories up a little bit.
Yeah. So we're seeing, things are sitting on the market a little bit longer days on market, that affects list to sales ratio, things like that. So right now for sellers, for me, it's do the prep work on the front end. This is not the market to throw your house on the market and see what happens. You need to stage appropriately. You need to declutter. You need to touch up your paint. You need to do your punch list. You need to have great photos. You need to do all of those things on the front end because it is a little more difficult to sell right now. So if you're not putting your best foot forward, it's already difficult, and then or more difficult than it has been, I should say. So if we're not doing the things up front, you're just making it even harder on yourself. So the prep work is worth the time and the money right now, and it's very necessary.
So speaking of staging and doing that prep work,
Yeah.
Any quick tips for home sellers on how to make their house more appealing?
Yeah, absolutely. Some of the most common things, we, as a lot of agents do, but a part of our kind of listing consult process is to come out to the house, give suggestions on things to do, or even, a lot of sellers will say, I have a list of things and I kind of want to get your thoughts on it. What's worth the investment? What's not? So some of the most common things that we get feedback on, that helps if you dress them ahead of time. Paint is always a big one. That's typically worth the time and the investment to touch up paint, walls, baseboards, neutralize things. That's always really helpful. And then the other one is declutter or simplify. Buyers get overwhelmed very easily, especially in this market. And so just creating simple, clean spaces, clean off countertops, tables should be cleared off, kitchen countertops should be cleared off, things like that just simplify the space. I always tell people, find one spot in the house that's going to be kind of your landing zone. And for a lot of people, that's the garage. Nobody expects you to park a car in a garage anymore. So if you can simplify and declutter the house and get everything into the garage, that's great. So have your one spot where you kind of dump stuff.
Garages are now storage buildings.
Absolutely. Nobody's surprised when they open up the garage and see boxes everywhere. So I just tell people, pick one space that you can use as kind of your storage area and get the rest of the house really simplified. I try to tell sellers, you want to create as much of a blank canvas as you can. So when a buyer comes in, you want to create the opportunity for them to make it their own. And if there's too much going on, there's too much clutter, too many things that are needing attention, it makes that really difficult for a buyer.
Gotcha. Love it. Now let's have a little fun.
Sure.
I'm going to rapid fire some questions to you and see how that goes for you. All right. Favorite neighborhood in Bowling Green?
Gosh, I'm going to be partial on this one. My husband and I live in Cross Ridge, and we love it in there because of the location. So we have a little bit of an older brick house, which we love. We got to do some renovating and kind of fix it up to make it our own. But that location is so fantastic. He's back and forth to work all the time. I'm obviously in my car running around all the time. So to us, it's the sweetest combination of a little bit of bigger lots. We've got a brick home that we love, but we're right there in the middle of town.
So home court advantage is what you're saying.
Yes.
All right. So best local restaurant for a client lunch.
Ooh, okay. I get this question a lot when people come in from out of town. I usually send clients to Nova Dolce is a big one. I'll send clients there. If they want something just a little bit different, they've got a really good variety of things on the menu. And then if people just want your good typical bar food, Double Dogs is always my go-to.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
One thing that buyers always overlook.
Oh man.
Or it can be multiple, I guess. I saw.
Okay.
Oh man, or what are the things that buyers overlook?
The thing that I feel like I spend a lot of time doing with buyers, especially first-time buyers, is trying to help them understand you're not the only person, more than likely, that will ever live here. So we need to think about the future. We need to think about the fact that more than likely you're going to sell this house in the next couple of years if you're kind of on the market trend. And so think about the things that might affect resale. Think about your location. Think about your layout. Even if things are super appealing to you, are they appealing to the masses? We don't want to pigeonhole ourselves into something that's so unique that when we turn around to sell it, the pool of buyers is really slim. So I'm always trying to get them to think a couple years into the future, when it's time for you to move on, are we in a good position to turn around and sell this and make a return on your investment?
So that's great advice. So before we wrap up, tell people where they can find you if they're looking to buy or sell a home.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like you mentioned, I'm with the Win Crew Real Estate team. We're at Keller Williams here in Bowling Green. We have an Instagram and Facebook, obviously. I'm on Instagram at Emily O'Connor Davis. Would love to have you on there as well. I've got a lot of great free resources, a couple of podcasts, things like that. That are out there and available. Instagram's probably the best way. I'm on Facebook as well, but most of my resources and value lands there on my Instagram.
All right, Emily,
Yeah.
thank you so much for being the first guest.
Absolutely.
And to our people that tuned into this, thanks. Also, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and follow us for more real estate insights and local happenings. Until next time, this is Keeping It Real with Rick.
Have a good one.